Annabelle, come on in. Aren't these old houses interesting, Annabelle? Look at that fireplace. And look at those beams and that funny old door.
Yes, it's old, all right.
Isn't it interesting, Annabelle? 200 years old. Just think, George Washington slept here. George Washington.
Martha wasn't a very good housekeeper, Newton.
This whole countryside is tied up with American history. And that road we came along, that's the old York Road. The Continental Congress used it going to Philadelphia. Washington crossed the Delaware just a little ways from here. Don't you get a kind of thrill, Annabelle?
What's the matter with you, Newton? You knew you were in America.
I know, but I get a kick out of these things. I think of what happened right around here, maybe right in this very house. Say, if only these walls could talk.
If they could, there'd probably be a commercial with it. Now, come on, we have to get going.
Wait a minute, Annabelle, I want Madge to see this. Madge! Oh, there you are.
All right, Dad. I'm ready to see exactly where George Washington slept. Not in here, I take it.
Look at this whole place, Madge. Isn't it wonderful?
You know, there's some poison ivy out there. I'll bet it goes right back to the Revolution.
Madge, see, look at that fireplace. That's a Dutch oven, you know? And look at the way those windows are set. Those walls are 20 inches thick. I tell you, they built houses in those days. And did you notice the outside? Do you know how old that stonework is? Over 200 years.
Yes, I did, Dad. It's lovely.
But I get a kick out of these things. Look at this floor, Annabelle. Hand-pegged, not a nail in it.
Yes, now let's get out of here and leave the stonework alone for another 200 years.
And right about a half a mile from here.
You buy me a book on American history, and I'll read it on West 97th Street. Right now I'm hot and hungry.
Annabelle.
We have seen the house.
Annabelle, I bought it.
What was that?
I said I bought this place. It's yours.
Why, Dad, you mean it?
Just a minute. I heard you correctly, Newton? You have bought this outhouse?
It's all ours.
Steve, I want you to meet my father, a brave pioneer spirit.
Please. Newton, do you mean to stand there and tell me that without saying a word to anyone, without consulting me at all, you've gone ahead and taken our money? Oh, you must be out of your mind.
Come on, Mother, give in. Why, it's exciting. A house all ours. We can make it wonderful.
But I hate the country. You know I hate the country.
But Mother, you never lived in the country. How do you know? Come on, Steve, let's look the upstairs. I want to pick out the best room for myself. Why, think of Pop doing a thing like this all by himself.
Be careful up there, miss. Some of them trolls fell in last winter. They did. You better go first then, Madge.
Thank you, dear. Chivalry may not be dead, but it's in a bad way.
Really, Newton? Taking what little we've gotten. Why? That's what I want to know, why?
Well, I've always had this feeling that I've wanted something that I could hold on to. A home and a piece of land that's real. That lasts as long as anything lasts. I mean, look at this place. This house was standing here when this country started, and it's standing here today. And the way things are now, it's pretty wonderful to come back to a thing like this. That's why I wanted it. I wanted it for all of us. Annabelle, don't be angry with me. Say you're not angry, please.
Angry? I could spit from here to Mount Vernon. Look at this place. Just look at it.
But it was a terrific bargain, Annabelle. I got it at a terrific bargain.
More than $1.
You just wait and see it a month from now when it's fixed up. We're going to do the whole thing with local labor. Aren't we, Mr. Kimber? Mr. Kimber's going to superintend the whole thing.
And have you been here 200 years too?
What's that? You just wait, Annabelle. You're going to be crazy about it.
Well, they ought to be down here in a minute since there's no floors.
The rooms are tiny, Mother, but you get a lovely view from every room. I love it.
You could break down a wall and get 2 wonderful rooms. It wouldn't be a hard job at all.
There you see?
Come on, Steve, let's look at the barn. Maybe I can have a studio out there, if the light's right.
Be careful out there, miss. One of them walls is caving in.
Isn't that nice? That's the dining room?
That's right. That is, it's a tool shed now, but we can make it into a dining room.
Tell me the worst, Newton. Is there a kitchen?
Oh, there's a nice big kitchen, Annabelle. There may be one of Mr. Kimber's cows in it now, but...
Well, if it's big as you say it is, I'm sure there'll be room for all of us.
Hope everything's all right. Oh, watch out, Annabelle!
Oh, shut up!
Well, Mr. Kimber, here we are. Quite a surprise, wasn't it?
Yes, sir. Have you figured out yet what you're gonna do about water?
Water? What water?
Well, what you're gonna do about getting water?
Well, getting water, we've got water.
No, you ain't, Mr. Fuller.
Well, of course we do. What about the well? Mr. Henderson said our well was the deepest in the whole county.
Yeah, it's deep, all right, but there ain't no water in it.
Oh, Annabelle, can't you see the possibilities? Look, Mr. Kimber, let's not say anything to Mrs. Fuller about the water.
Yes, sir, but she's got to find out as soon as she wants a drink of water.
Isn't there any water at all anywhere?
Well, of course there's a brook, but you'd have to carry it up a bucket full at a time, and Mrs. Fuller might not like that.
No. Look, Mr. Kimber, can't we just dig another well and find water?
Nothing gonna stop you doing that.
Well, then you see we've got water. I wish I could go out and dig it myself. Mr. Kimber, you don't know what this does to a man. Why, you've lived in the country all your life, but I tell you, when you've been cooped up in the city since you were born, why, just the feel of walking on your own piece of land. I own all this. I own every bit of it. And those trees, and the brook, and this house. I can hardly believe it. I want to learn all of the things that you know, Mr. Kimber. The names of trees and birds. I want to find out for myself that summer's here instead of getting the cold from the air cooling at the music hall. I want to see the seasons change with my own eyes. I can see myself coming down that road on an autumn night, smell of leaves burning in the air, coming in and lighting a fire. And maybe it's raining outside. Gosh, Mr. Kimber, this is the finest thing that ever happened to me.
You're going to need a cesspool, too, Mr. Fuller.
Go ahead and get one, Mr. Kimber. Get the best. Now, you see, that's just what I mean. Whatever you put into a place, whatever you do to it, why, it's yours. Gives you something to work for. I can see myself ending my days right here. I can hear him saying, there's the old Fuller place right down the road there. Did you ever meet old man Fuller? Couldn't beat a nicer old codger. Been here 35 years. Don't know what we do without him. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, Mr. Fuller, but my cow was trying to get into your car. Bossy, get away from that, Bossy!
Yes, sir. Been here 35 years. Should have seen this place when I bought it. Couldn't believe it.
When George Washington slept here, where did he hang his clothes? There's not a closet in the house. George Washington also apparently never had to go to the bathroom.
I'm sorry, Annabelle. I forgot to tell you there aren't any just yet.
What are we supposed to do, Newton? Run back to the apartment?
The barn is perfect, Dad. It won't smell like a studio, but I can paint in it. And Steve says the brook can be dammed up and make a wonderful swimming place.
Know what I'll do? I'll bring my Serengosauros down and fix you up a swimming pool and eat off you all summer on the strength of it. I think this place is great, Mr. Fuller.
There, you see, Annabelle? I can hardly wait to get to work on it. Let's take these boards down right now. Ouch! Didn't see that nail.
Did you hurt yourself, Dad?
Nah. Boy, can you imagine this fireplace with a big roaring fire?
Oh, Dad, isn't that a shame? Here.
Take my handkerchief.
I'm going to take this bug upstairs, Annabelle. Is that all right? Maybe I should stay over.
Look, Mother, can't we at least start sorting things out and take some of these things upstairs?
I don't care what you do. I'm so tired I can't stand up any longer.
Well, I'm going to take these up anyhow.
Gosh, I'm so full of pep. Well, this air out here, I could tear a house down.
Well, you can start with this one.
I think I'm going to start on the china. Where's the hammer and chisel, Steve? Oh, there they are.
Oh, no.
You know, they've packed these barrels all wrong.
Newton, why don't you come and sit down for a while?
Why, I'm as fresh as a daisy.
Newton, you've done enough. Made us give up the apartment. Have to be out here by June 15th. Everything will be ready. Everything except bedrooms, bathrooms, floors, dining rooms, ceiling, walls, bedrooms, bathrooms, dining rooms. Steve, for heaven's sakes!
I'm afraid you're going to have trouble getting good reception out here.
I'm sure we are.
Oh, well, Annabelle, you always have a few little annoyances, but if you just let it take some time, and maybe it'll all stop after a while.
Who knows, Newton?
What that is? That's the yellow-breasted barn swallow.
Is that
It
so?
has a triple call. It'll come 3 times. Now listen.
That's not the same bird, is it, Newton? I suppose they'll be drilling for water all summer long.
Mr. Kimber says this well looks very promising. I think we're really going to strike it this time.
No other man would buy a house without water, only you, Newton.
Smell that air. Look at how green everything is. I think that I shall never see a home as lovely as a tree.
Now, where did I put that hot water bottle? Oh, well, here's your tuxedo, Newton.
Needs pressing. You know, we ought to put these books up pretty soon. I think I'll do that personally. Oh, my, Study in Scarlet by A. Conan Doyle. I haven't read that in years. You astound me, Watson, said Holmes, drawing deeply on his meerschaum. Surely the clues are quite plain. Watson looked embarrassed.
Mrs. Fuller! I can't work in the kitchen, Mrs. Fuller. Nobody could.
Why, Katie, what's the
Stop all
matter?
upset, Katie.
But I'm scared to work there.
Scared?
What do you mean, Katie?
A horse just walked in.
Well, Katie, once that wall gets put up, it'll never happen again.
No stove, no sink, no pots, no pans. Got to carry the water up in buckets. Haven't even got no water.
Katie, just try and make the best of it for a few days, please.
Well, Katie, what would you say to making us all a great big pitcher of iced tea?
Katie is very busy right now, Madge.
We don't want any iced tea, Katie. Why don't you go out and sit in the sun for a while?
That kitchen is sunny enough, Mr. Fuller, with no walls. Why, what's the matter with Katie?
Local labor. Say, that reminds me, Newton. What do you hear from the mob?
Well, Mr. Kimber says we should be ready to start any day now. If it wasn't for Mr. Prescott's greenhouse, we could have been done by now. Mr. Prescott just took all of the men away. It wasn't Mr. Kimber's fault, Annabelle.
No.
Oh, by the way, I had a little glimpse of our neighbor this morning.
Oh, did you see Mr. Prescott? Isn't that nice? What did he say?
He said, "You are trespassing on my property, and I will thank you to get off." So we got off.
I don't think he exactly relishes the presence of poor white trash so nearby.
Isn't that nice?
Come on, Madge, I'll teach you something about surveying. I'm going to build you a place to swim if that's the only thing you have. The brook's got water anyhow.
Need me for a few minutes, Mother?
No, you go on and drown in the brook, dear. At least one of us will have water then anyhow.
It's 10 minutes to 4. I've got an hour yet. Are you sure about that train, Mr. Fuller?
Yes, sir. 5:38. It's an express. Let's see here. 5:38 express. Oh, does not run after April 21st. Oh, let's see. There must be another one. Let's see. Oh, here we are. Oh, no, that goes the other way. 5:46 a.m. Let's see. That's funny. 10:54.
Nothing before that?
Well, why don't you just stay overnight, Steve?
You might as well, Steve.
Yes, you're trapped like a rat.
I guess I'd better. What train can I get in the morning?
Let's see. Morning trains. 5:46 a.m. 5:46. Nothing until 1:20 in the afternoon.
That's kind of a... Well, I'm just going to take the late one tonight. I'm not going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Come on, Madge.
Fine thing, Pat. Why didn't we find out about the trains?
I wonder why they took that train off.
Why didn't you just stay in New York for the summer, Newton? You'd get some sleep then anyhow.
Well, I asked Mr. Henderson before I bought the place. I said, could you commute? And he said, why, yes, you certainly could.
Oh, you could. Of course, you'd have to be at the office at 6:45 in the morning. Take a Pullman out here at night to get some sleep. And you wouldn't be seeing much of the double-breasted barn swallow, but you could commute.
Mr. Fuller, I got good news.
Really, Mr. Kimber? Hear that, Annabelle? What is it?
Well, sir, we drilled down 420 feet. Oh, what do you think? We struck mud!
Mud?
Well, that's fine. Bring me a glass, will you?
Mud, huh? Is that good?
Well, it's the best thing we struck so far.
Oh, I think it's wonderful, Newton. Those hot nights in August when I say to Katie, Katie, make us a nice big pitcher of iced mud, will you?
Now, Mrs. Fuller, if you strike mud, it usually means there's water around somewhere.
So you think we've really got a hold of something, eh, Mr. Kimber?
Certainly do.
Well, that's wonderful. Tell him to drill hard, full speed ahead, and let the water gush where it may.
Oh, Mr. Fuller, I've ordered the gravel. We're going to need another load, though. It comes to a little more than we figured. Let's see. We figured $42. Comes to $135, but then we won't need gravel for a couple of years. Then there's the lime. The price of lime went up since I spoke to you. It'd be about $75 more than we figured.
Uh-huh.
Then there's the trees, Mr. Fuller. We got to start doing something about those trees pretty soon.
What do we have to do about the trees, Mr. Kimber? Pay them for standing here?
You got to spray them. You see, we got the 2 elm trees, and they're liable to get the elm blight. And then those 2 oaks by the brook, they're liable to get the oak borer. And that big willow tree, it's got a canker in it already. Then there's the tent caterpillar and the measuring worm.
I didn't know all that about trees, Mr. Kimber.
Oh, yes. You see, Newton, the measuring worm measures how much money you've got, gets in touch with Mr. Kimber, and soon we're living in a tent with those caterpillars.
And then there's the Japanese beetle, but they don't come along till July 1st.
Let me understand this, Mr. Kimber. All the trees have to be sprayed, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then who runs through the woods and sprays all those trees? They seem to be doing all right.
I don't know, ma'am. All I know is trees have got to be sprayed.
Annabelle, if Mr. Kimber says the trees have got to be sprayed, but he knows.
Well, if he knows, then let him answer my questions. Who sprays the trees in the woods, Mr. Kimber?
Thank you, Mr. Kimber. We'll talk about the trees later.
I think he ought to be sprayed if you ask me.
Was there anything else, Mr. Kimber?
Yes, sir. We're going to need a couple of truckloads of manure. That's $45 a load now.
Why, that's a bargain. What was it, a sale, Mr. Kimber?
Then let's see. We're going to need 6 truckloads of dirt.
And now just a minute. If there's one thing this place has got, it's dirt. We are not going to buy any.
It's not just dirt, Annabelle. It's a special kind of dirt.
We've got no water, all right. But now to find that we've got no dirt, it's just too much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kimber. I'll see you later.
Oh, Mr. Fuller, the 17-year locusts, they don't come along till August, so we don't have to worry about them.
The 17-year locust, too, huh?
They only come around every 17 years.
Oh, yes, I can just imagine them talking the whole thing over last year. One locust saying to the other, one more year and Newton Fuller buys that place, and up we go. Us and the tent caterpillar, the Japanese beetle, and the measuring worm. We'll all go up and have a heck of a time.
Annabelle, sometimes I just don't understand you. Here you are, face to face with the most wonderful thing in the world, nature. And all you see are a few insignificant little trivialities. Why, you've got a grandstand seat at the greatest show in the world. The whole panorama of nature going on right before your eyes. Insect against insect. Worm against worm. All the complicated forces that make locusts stay in the ground for 17 years and Japanese beetles come up right on July 1st. Why, you should be struck with wonder at the very privilege of being able to watch it.
Well, why, that's the greatest love scene you've played in 22 years, Newton.
Well, it just makes me mad all through to see you sit there and complain about buying a little bit of spray.
Well, that's all fine, you and the insects. But when the honeymoon is over, where's the money coming from to pay for all of this?
It's not all bad, Annabelle. You always have to do things like this in the beginning. Well, take gravel, for instance. You heard Mr. Kimber. We don't have to get any more for another 2 years.
Well, as far as gravel is concerned, we're all set. I was just thinking of little things like eating, because when manure costs more than a sirloin steak, it makes you stop and think.
Good afternoon.
Oh, why, good afternoon.
I hope I'm not intruding. I'm Mrs. Douglas. I just wanted to stop in and bid you welcome. I live in that little stone house just down the road.
How do you do, Mrs. Douglas? How nice of
Well,
you.
isn't this nice, Mrs. Douglas? Please come and sit. You'll have to excuse the looks of the place.
I do understand, Mrs. Fuller. I hesitated to come my first day here, but I just wanted to bring you these flowers and say welcome.
Why, thank you, Mrs. Douglas. They're lovely.
I'll bet those flowers are right out of your own garden, aren't they, Mrs. Douglas?
Yes, they are. We're having a wonderful garden here.
I know your house now. I was asking our Mr. Kimber about that house. He said yours is the oldest down here.
Yes, it's very old. 1700, we think. I do hope you're going to like it here, Mrs. Fuller. We're always very pleased to have some nice new neighbors.
Oh, it's lovely country, Mrs. Douglas. Of course, I'm such a city child. It's definitely going to take some getting used to. This whole thing was my husband's idea. He's the barefoot boy of the family.
Yes, Mrs. Fuller doesn't know quite what to make of the country just yet. But I'm sure once we get our house looking like yours, I'll bet I won't be able to get her out of it.
My husband, Mrs. Douglas, will bet on anything.
Tell me, Mrs. Douglas, have you lived here since the Revolution? I mean, has your family been here since the Revolution?
Yes, I was born in that little house. I've lived here all my life.
Think of that, Annabelle. Tell me, do you know anything about this house? When did George Washington sleep here?
Well, I know there is a legend that Mr. Washington slept here, but I'm afraid that isn't true, Mr. Fuller.
You mean he never slept here at all?
No, as a matter of fact, we investigated and discovered George Washington never slept here. It was Benedict Arnold. Perhaps you'd like to have an old map of this place. place. See, I'm president of the County Historical Society. It might be interesting to you.
Oh, yes, I certainly would if it wouldn't be too much trouble, Mrs. Douglas.
Why, not at all. I better be getting home. It's going to storm.
I'll take you to your car, Mrs. Douglas.
Please, don't bother. I'm afraid I'll have to use the road again. I don't like to cross the field with the storm coming.
The road? Why shouldn't you use the road?
Well, I know Mr. Prescott doesn't like people using it.
But what has Mr. Prescott got to do with it?
After all, it's his road.
No, it isn't. It's our road. It leads to his house, too, but it's our road.
I'm afraid you're mistaken, Mr. Fuller. It's Mr. Prescott's road. Didn't they tell you that when you bought the place?
My husband, Mrs. Douglas, bought this place by radio photo.
But, Mrs. Douglas, I'm
Just
sure...
a minute. Exactly how are we supposed to get here, Mrs. Douglas? Jump?
Well, your right-of-way is actually through the woods. I suppose eventually you'll have to build a road through, because after a heavy storm, it's quite impassable. I'd better be hurrying. Goodbye.
So we haven't even got a road. How could you possibly do such a thing, Newton? Didn't you ask any questions before you said yes? Didn't you look at any papers?
Certainly I did.
What, PM? What are we going to do? No walls, no floors, can't get in of it or out of it. Maybe the government would try to for Alcatraz. Ah, the warden.
What is it, Mr. Kimber?
Afraid that well's no good, Mr. Fuller. We struck a cemetery.
A cemetery?
Anyone we know?
A man just left this.
Ah, little note of welcome from the county. Road tax, $183.50. Imagine what it would be if we had a road. School tax, $98.60. Extra assessment, county poorhouse, $21.30. Well, let's pay that and move right in.
Boy, it's going to be a Lulu. Listen to that.
We were way down at the brook when we saw it coming.
Say, look how dark it is. Is this lamp working?
Here's one over here, too.
Say, this is pretty heavy. Hope it doesn't hurt anything.
Oh, what could it hurt? The room where Benedict Arnold slept?
I hope it lets up before I have to leave.
Wintergreen for president.
What was that, darling?
I said wintergreen for president. Want to make anything of it?
Well, you know we're in the country anyhow.
Say, it looks as if there's someone stopping here. Yeah, they're getting out of the car. They're coming here.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's quite all right.
Sorry to bother you. Rain was coming down so hard we couldn't drive. Hope you don't mind for a few moments.
Certainly not. We're not in very good order here. My wife, Mrs. Fuller, and my daughter, and Mr. Eldridge.
How do you do? My name is Clayton Evans, and this is my wife, Rena Leslie.
Oh, I recognized you right away, Mr. Evans. I've seen you on the stage.
Say, I thought you looked familiar, Mr. Evans. What? You know Mr. Evans, Annabelle. Say, do you own a house down here, too?
No. We're down here for the summer, actually, at the Playhouse. We opened Monday with a fire brand. We were on our way to rehearsal when the storm caught us.
Oh, I didn't know there was a summer theater down here, Annabelle. Isn't that nice?
If you can call it a theater.
Now, Rena, we're going to be here all summer. If we're going to start out that way, it's going to be fine. What do you expect of summer theater anyhow?
Not a great deal, Clayton. I would just like them to take the pigs out before they put their hands in. That's all.
Yeah, I'd better fasten the shutters.
I'll do it, Mr. Fuller.
Oh, how I loathe the country.
Say, we could form a little club here this summer.
Oh, look, it's hanging in the windows. Under the door, too.
Oh, get some rags. You better get some rags.
Well, let me help you, Miss Fuller.
It's all just as well. We'll be washed away and never have to use the road at all.
The roof's leaking. There's a regular flood upstairs.
Newton's art.
Here we are. Come on, Rena, give us a hand.
That is not in my equity contract, dear.
Newton, it's raining, Newton. Right in our little nest.
Well, here's a pail.
Have you another bucket, Mr. Fuller, or
or shall I just open my mouth?
Excuse me.
You know, Newton, I think they were putting the roof on just as you signed the deed, and they took it right away again.
Hey, it's getting awfully damp in here. Suppose I start a fire. A nice big one. There. Listen to that crackle, Annabelle. Who started that fire?
You know, you're not that in this place. Wuthering Heights.
The big tree! He just blew down!
Bingo!
What happened to the light?
Oh, they'll come on again.
Mr. Kimber! Mr. Kimber! Do you have to cut the grass right now? It seems to me you're always cutting the grass.
Well, I got to cut it sometime.
Well, don't do it now, will you?
All right, but we'll just keep on growing.
Mr. Kimber! Mr. Kimber!
I ain't cutting the grass.
I have been begging you since July 1st to fix those screens. It is now the end of August. You're not that busy.
Well, ma'am, every time you open those doors, some flies get in.
I see. So it's my fault for coming into the house.
Well, it'd be better if you didn't.
I see.
All right, I'll take a look at the screen.
Yes, you looked at them and watched the flies come in.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am. Can I speak to you for a minute?
What is it, Hester?
Can I get tonight off, Miss Fuller?
Tonight off? Why, you know we're having guests, Hester.
But my fellow's starting up from Hatboro, and this is the only night I can see him.
I can't help that, Hester. This is the first weekend we've been able to have guests out here, and you just cannot get off. You'll have to see him next week.
I can't see him next week.
Now, Hester, you cannot come to me at 6 o'clock on a Friday evening with a house full of guests coming and ask for the night off. You'll have to see him next week.
I can't.
Of course you can. Why can't you?
He's getting married.
Getting married? Well, then he isn't your young man, Hester.
He is till he gets married. That's why I've got to see him tonight.
Well, you can go after you serve dinner and turn on the beds.
What time will you be through dinner?
I don't know, Hester. You can go when your work is finished. Be sure and take water up to all the rooms. Fill all the pitchers and basins.
Yes, ma'am. Hester, are you going to press those slacks in? Oh, hi, Mother.
Are you going out? Well, they'll be here in a little while.
Yes, I'll be right back. Oh, where are the keys to the car?
On the hook, where they always are. Where do you dash to all the time? What are you so busy about?
Me? Oh, I'm running for mayor.
Well, remember, these are your friends coming. Don't leave me stuck here.
Mother, I'll be right back. Don't worry.
What is it now, Hester?
Could I ask Annie to serve dessert tonight?
No, you cannot. And he has enough to do with her cooking. Now you can go when your work is finished, and that's all there is to it.
Yes, ma'am.
Hester's gonna have a baby.
out of there, Raymond. Come on.
You're awfully dumb, Aunt Annabelle. I knew about Hester 3 weeks ago.
I cannot believe that you are my brother's child.
Say, who knows? I wonder how Mama's doing down in Reno with the Cowboys. I bet you she's in there pitching all the time.
Now look here, Raymond. You're here another month until the divorce is over. So we might as well have a little understanding. In the first place, you've been stealing my little chalk figures and selling them to the Quaker antique shop.
Me?
Now don't deny it, I know you have.
Aunt Annabelle, how can you accuse your own nephew of being a thief?
And if you don't stop, I'm going to murder you some night in your bed. So help me.
You know, I nearly killed Mama once. They stopped me just in time. Of course, I was just a kid then.
You know, Raymond, you kind of fascinate me.
You'll get used to it. Here comes that actress. Boy, can she stink up a theater. Hello, Miss Leslie, and how are you this afternoon?
Out of my way, rat.
Where are you a lousy actor?
You know, I can't decide whom Raymond resembles, Leopold or Loeb.
Well, another month and the divorce is over. The only thing that's holding it up now is the custody of Raymond. Neither one of them will take him. Very glad you stopped in, Miss Leslie. Sit down. How about a drink?
I'd love it. After bouncing up and down across that field of yours, I need it.
Yes, we're trading our car in for a tank. It's the only way to get here. Hester! Oh, Hester! Hester!
What do you want?
Hester, would you mind bringing Miss Leslie a drink, please? Thank you, Hester.
Hester seems to have you by the well-known chandeliers, Mrs. Fuller.
Hasn't she, though? Oh, well, it's all part of that simple country life.
Tell me, is Mr. Fuller just as crazy about it? Does he still think Benjamin Franklin makes up for the Japanese beetle?
Yes, he's lost 15 pounds catching that morning train. He's got poison ivy from his navel up, but he's still nature's child. Thank you, Hester. Pregnant, too.
Really? Raymond?
So tell me, Miss Leslie, how are things done in the theater?
Oh, fine. I'm playing that maid again this week. Last night the scenery fell over right in the middle of the second act. Didn't make a bit of difference, though. It was just as good. You know, I don't understand the theater. These hams come down here, work their cans off for $1.80 a week, live in places that a cockroach would turn up his nose at, and for what? Just to act. So help me, actors will act anywhere, in anything, and for anything. All they want to do is to act.
Well, if I'm not too inquisitive, Miss Leslie, how did you get into it? I've wondered.
I married one. You know how it is. He was good looking and could sling those romantic nothings around on stage and off. So before I knew it, I was an actress. Clayton's a very attractive man, you know.
Oh, indeed he is. When I saw him in those tights in the firebrand, it was no treat coming home with Newton.
Oh, he's got You know, it's wonderful to watch men operate. Now that I'm cured, it's kind of fun to sit in the bleachers and watch Clayton bat that ball around. I say to myself, is that what I fell for? But I did. It's always the same. First that boyish helplessness. You know, I was afraid even to ask you to go out with me. And that smoldering look in the eye, and would you mind if I tell you that you're very, very attractive? Then zowie, and don't take all the blanket, dear.
Yes, I've seen Newton when he's had that one drink too many, and you wouldn't believe it. He gets that codfish look in his eye, and with a slight burp, he goes into it. You know, Miss Peabody, I've always wanted to be an explorer. That's what I wanted to be. And when I meet somebody like you, I can feel the call of the jungle all over again. Then he spills his drink over, and he can't go to work the next morning. They don't have to act, Miss Leslie. They all do it. May I freshen your drink?
Oh, no, I just dropped in for a minute. Matter of fact, I came to talk to you about something, but I don't quite know how to say it now that I'm here.
Why, what is it, Miss Leslie?
Now look, Mrs. Fuller, this is not the jealous wife speaking. It's just that I like you, and I think you ought to know what's going on.
Going on?
You don't know anything about it, then?
No, I don't.
Well, it's just that Clayton and Madge have been seeing a great deal of each other, and If I know the signs, I'm afraid she's in for a bad time. Ordinarily, I don't interfere, but your daughter's too nice a girl, Mrs. Fuller.
Well, how far has it gone? Do you know?
Oh, it's still in the early stages, I'm sure.
Well, thank you very much for telling me, Miss Leslie.
It's probably just one of those summer romances, but girls have a way of taking Clayton seriously. He's like the Japanese Vito in a way. Turns up around July 1st and wrecks all the pretty flowers. Well, I've got to be going. Would you like me to run over Raymond on the way out?
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, well, Thoreau has arrived.
Hello, Miss Leslie.
Well, if it isn't Sears Roebuck.
Hello, darling. Have a nice day. Picked up a few things we needed for the house, this and that. Nearly missed the train.
Well, how'd you come out? In the baggage car?
No, that's the nice thing about having a country home. You walk into a store and everything you see you need. It's wonderful.
Well, as long as you're having fun. My, 6:30, I've got to be going.
Oh, so soon, Miss Leslie, must you?
Yes, I've got to be on my way. Rush through my dinner, streak it over to the theater, put on a makeup, fix my hair, get into a tight girdle, walk on and say, Madame is resting. Back to the dressing room and take it all off again. I ought to have my head examined. Goodbye, Mrs. Fuller. Goodbye.
Know what this is, Annabelle? Little Miracle Chicken Feed.
Well, you'd better take a spoonful because I've got some news for you.
Bad news, Mr. Kimber quit?
No, we've still got Mr. Kimber. But your daughter, Mr. Fuller, is having a little romance with a married man.
What do you mean, Annabelle? Who?
Clayton Evans, that's what Miss Leslie was here about.
Imagine Mr. Evans? Well, I don't believe it.
Now don't just toss it aside, Newton.
Honestly, you women always see the worst in everything. Why, when I was just out of college, I was so crazy about Maxine Elliott that I used to go to the theater 4 times a week just to see her. But I didn't break my engagement with you and marry Maxine Elliott, did I?
No, you didn't, Newton.
Well, even so, it's just too silly. I wouldn't even talk to her about it. Silly thing like that.
Well, I'm certainly going to talk to Madge about it.
Look, Uncle Stanley's coming out.
What did you say?
Uncle Stanley's coming out.
Uncle Stanley? When?
Tonight, just for the weekend.
Now don't tell me you asked him for this weekend.
But I had to, Annabelle. He called me up at the office and I had to. He's on his way up to Ed and Julia's, and this is the only weekend he has. Steve is driving him out.
Well, that's just dandy.
But it's only a couple of days.
Oh, sure. Only a couple of days. Uncle Stanley, old windbag, have to be quiet till he gets up in the morning and when he takes his naps in the afternoon. Have to close the windows so there's no draft on Uncle Stanley, and everybody sit around and listens to him tell of how he made his money, as if we all hadn't heard it 700 times before. Madge's friends will have a wonderful time.
Oh, they're young people. They'll be outside all the time.
Well, all I can say is if we ever get that money, we've earned it. 22 years of take my chair, Uncle Stanley. It's more comfortable. Here's the wife made for you, Uncle Stanley. Why, look, Madge, and Uncle Stanley has brought you a package of chewing gum. Say thank you to Uncle Stanley.
Well, we've gone this far. We can afford to be nice a little longer.
Newton, do you realize he's never even given us so much as a handkerchief? Just those damn pictures of himself every Christmas. Well, I have a bonfire when he goes.
Hey, where are those pictures? We ought to put them out before he gets here.
They're around somewhere. We'll have him plastered all over the place.
And will you have that very rare steak that he likes so much? And roast duck on Sunday. I brought out the special brand of cigars that he likes and these little candies. And, oh, some dark cloth for the windows in case the light disturbs him. I can't think of anything else, can you?
No, it just fits perfectly. If there's one thing I need right now, it'd be for Uncle Stanley to
Oh,
hold
good
on.
evening, Hester.
Good evening.
What's the matter with Hester? She got a headache or something?
Mr. Fuller?
Hello, Mr. Kimber. How's everything?
Fine, Mr. Fuller, but we need more gravel.
More gravel? I thought we had enough for 2 years.
Yeah, but I guess we kind of figured wrong. Shall I get another load?
Well, I suppose you better if we really need it. Well, how's the manure holding up?
Getting pretty low on that, too.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that, because Mr. Fuller's uncle is coming out today.
Look, Mr. Kimber, we don't absolutely need all that gravel, do we?
Well, we ought to have. It's only $45 a load now, and you know how chickens like to scratch.
Yes, but it's just that everything is costing so much more than I figured. Fact is, I'm a little strapped for ready cash right now. I bought these things you said you absolutely needed, but I'm going to have to kind of take it easy for a while.
Yes, sir, but you got payment due on that threshing machine Monday. Got to pay that, Mr. Fuller.
Monday, huh? Well, maybe something will sort of happen. Let's see. Here it is. Little Miracle Chicken Feed.
Yes, sir. Looked as if we were going to get an egg today. But something happened. Maybe this will help.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kimber. Anything else?
Yes, the 17-year locust just arrived.
Oh, Newton, you forgot to give me that check. I've got to pay Annie and Hester and some things down at the village.
Yes, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you tomorrow.
Is something bothering you, Newton?
Me? No. Whatever gave you that idea? Is Hester mad or something?
Oh, no.
Oh, you Mr. Newton Fuller? My name is Prescott. My property is right next to yours. This boy just threw a dead skunk into my swimming pool.
I did not.
And yesterday he put Roosevelt stickers all over my garage. Now I want him kept off my property. Do you understand that? Off my property. Good day.
You old Republican?
Oh, Newton, I give up. You've got to do something about this boy.
Raymond, I'm warning you. The next thing that you do, I'm going to throw you over my knee and give you the hiding of your life.
I'd like to see it. Try it, you old poop. You didn't even know enough to buy a farm with water. That's how dumb you are.
Old poop! Don't ever talk to me about Uncle Stanley when you've got Raymond around. Why, what's that? What? It's Uncle Stanley! Where are the pictures? Annabelle, you didn't put out the pictures!
Oh, here we go again, boys.
Hello, Uncle Stanley, hello!
Hello, you old buzzard.
Hurry up, Annabelle, he's getting out of the car!
I can only go so fast, Newton.
Hurry up, Annabelle! Welcome, Uncle Stanley, welcome! Are we glad to see you? Well.
Hello, Newton, my boy. Hello there, Annabelle.
Hello, Uncle Stanley. So glad you could come. Hello, Steve.
Uncle Stanley, you look wonderful. Doesn't Uncle Stanley look wonderful, Annabelle?
Indeed he does. I've never seen anyone look healthier.
Have a seat right over here, Uncle Stanley. Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you, Newton. Young man, where's that little package I brought? Thank you very much. Annabelle, a little something for the house with my compliments.
Well, thank you, Uncle Stanley. How nice of you.
Why, Uncle Stanley, you shouldn't have.
Oh, why, look, Newton, what Uncle Stanley has bought us. A picture of himself.
Well, what do you think of that?
Oh, thank you, Uncle Stanley. I know just where to put this.
That's all right, Annabelle. Where's Madge?
Oh, she didn't know you were coming. That's why she isn't here. She should be back any minute.
Which way did she go, do you know?
Well, I'm not quite sure, Steve.
Oh well, I'll find her.
Newton, is there a window open someplace? I feel a draft.
It's the door, Uncle Stanley. I'll soon fix that. Here we are. Well, Uncle Stanley, what do you think of it?
Think of what?
Why, the place.
Oh, nice little place. Very nice. You fixed this up, Annabelle?
Uh-huh.
She certainly did, Uncle Stanley. Well, you should have seen this place. Annabelle performed an absolute miracle.
Very nice indeed. If I might make a suggestion.
Oh, of course, Uncle Stanley. What is it?
It seems to me that stool is too close against the bookshelf. Look better if it were out of it.
My gosh, Uncle Stanley, you've got an eye. What, look at that, Annabelle. Why, it changes the whole appearance of the room, Uncle Stanley. My gosh, you've got an eye.
Well, sometimes you just happen to see these things. I remember when I was a little shaver. We were living in Pittsburgh then, just before we moved to Akron. I was just a little shaver at the time. Couldn't have been more than 6 or 7. And I'd never been shopping before. Well, this particular day, Mother took me to Joseph Horn and Company. That was one of the biggest department stores in Pittsburgh then. Well, we went up to the rug department.
Linoleum department.
Well, that's right. Well, the salesman, he was one of those young smart alecks. I remember, he had a mustache. Well, he kept showing Mother linoleum with great big red squares on it.
Blue square.
Well, that's right. Say, Annabelle, have you heard this story before?
No.
Go right on, Uncle Stanley.
Well, Mother was one of those women who always said that children should be seen and known. Just as the salesman unrolled the glass.
Oh, well, hello, boys and girls. You're right on time.
Hello, Mr. Fuller, Mrs. Fuller.
Where's Madge? Oh, she'll be back any moment. Hello, Tommy. Hello, Leggett.
Hello, Mrs. Fuller. I don't think you know Marion. This is Marion Wilcox. Mrs. Fuller and Mr. Fuller.
Uncle Stanley, these are some friends of Madge's. This is Sue,
How do you do?
and, oh, excuse me,
Miss Wilcox.
Miss Wilcox, and Tommy and Mr. Fraser.
How do you do? Would you mind closing that door? There's a draft.
Oh, pardon me.
Now you're all up on the 3rd floor. Want me to show you to your room?
Oh no, we can find one, Mrs. Fuller.
You girls are in the big room, right at the head of the stairs with the strawberry wallpaper. And you boys are in the little blue room.
We'll find him, Mrs. Fuller. Thank you. Is Steve here yet?
Yes, he stepped outside for just a moment. Madge will be right back. Now, are you sure you're all right?
Oh, sure. Don't worry about us.
It's a charming house, Mrs. Fuller.
Madge didn't say half enough about it.
Well, why don't you all go up and get into your country clothes? Dinner's in about half an hour, so you don't have to hurry.
Isn't this nice, Marion?
I love these old houses, don't you?
Dinner in half an hour, huh? Well, I'm going to soak in a nice hot tub.
That's what you think.
You didn't tell you were in a house full of other people. I wouldn't have come if I'd known that.
You should have told Uncle Stanley Newton.
How's that?
Know what we're having for dinner Sunday night? Roast duck with that special stuffing. I'm going right into the kitchen and make it myself.
You know something, Annabelle? Of all the girls my nephew's married, I always thought you were the nicest. And you know something? Well, never you mind. But Uncle Stanley doesn't forget. I think I'll go up to my room and freshen up.
Well, I'll get your bags, Uncle Stanley, and help you unpack.
Thank you, Newton. Darn it, I knew I'd forgotten something. I forgot to bring out any cigars.
Ah, why, we think of everything, Uncle Stanley. Look what we have here. Coronas.
Oh, Newton, you shouldn't have done that.
And here are those little candies that you like to take the taste of the cigar out of your mouth.
You certainly know how to make a person feel at home, Newton. Well,
I'll go up with you and make sure you have everything you need.
What was that story you were telling, Uncle Stanley, before the young people came in?
oh yes, the department store story. I was just a little shaver at the time, maybe 6 or 7. Mother took me out shopping. We went up to the rug department.
Linoleum department.
What happened then, Uncle Stanley? Tell us what you said and how the salesman looked when you said it. Looks like there's a bright spot over there. I think it's going to clear up.
You've been seeing that bright spot for 3 days now. You're just stir crazy.
Oh, sweet mystery of life, at last
Mr.
I...
Menninger is sleeping.
Sorry.
Anybody seen the Sunday papers?
Not a soul, Mrs. Fuller. Mr. Minninger's been sitting on them since 9 o'clock this morning.
I tried to get the sports section out from under it, but no luck.
He's been sitting on them long enough to hatch out Monday's papers. Want anything, Miss Wilcox?
Anything else you want, Miss Fuller?
Oh, no, thank you, Hester.
Well, if there's anything you want me to do, just let me know.
Anyone care for a drink? Soup?
No, thank you.
Miss Wilcox?
Say, where's your little playmate this afternoon? The dead end kid.
He's around here somewhere. Don't try me with your luck.
Quite a nephew you've got there, Mrs. Fuller.
Yes, we had a little encounter with him last night. Just as we were going to sleep, a voice from under the bed said, "These things are highly overrated."
Did you hear that?
Well, I'd better check on the weather. Looks like it's clearing up way over there.
Oh, go over there, will you? Tell me, Tommy, doesn't Miss Wilcox ever say anything?
Oh, yes, she talked to Mrs. Fuller.
Well, next time, just before she goes, have her say hello, will you?
Been just lovely, hasn't it? Rain for 2 solid days.
Hello. Must have dozed off there for a moment. How long have I been asleep?
It's 9 o'clock this morning, Uncle Stanley.
Newton, is that window open again? I feel a draft.
Very sorry, Uncle Stanley.
Thank you. The reason I'm fussy about drafts, when I was a little shaver, couldn't have been more than 8 or 10. My son's school was right next to the window, and I kept getting colds. Well, one day it occurred to me, if I put a piece of wood in the window pulley, they couldn't open the window. So that's just what I did, and they never could open that window again.
Well, what do you know, Uncle Stanley?
What's that?
Come out of there, Raymond!
Come on, Raymond.
Boy, if you didn't have any money, you sure would have some trouble with those stories.
Newton, if this were my house, I'd give that boy a chastising he won't forget.
Wait a minute. Here we are. There she comes. I told you it was coming. I've been watching that spot for 2 days. Come on, everybody. Let's go swimming.
Oh, God, I'm dying for a swim.
Look at that sun, will you?
Come on, Madge, are you going? Yes, I'm coming too.
You certainly are a gracious hostess. Make everyone awful glad to be here.
Oh, stop pestering me, will you, Steve?
Newton, close that door. There's a draft. Say, someone took the Sunday papers. I had them right here.
I wonder who would have done something like that. Annabelle, you're sitting on Uncle Stanley's papers.
Pardon me, just giving them warm for Uncle Stanley.
Here you are, Uncle Stanley.
Thank you.
Well, the sun's out. How about a nice little walk?
No, I don't think so. That darn boy, I'm afraid he's given me a bit of indigestion. No, I think I'll go up and take a rest. There was a fly in my room last night, Newton.
Oh, I'm very sorry, Uncle Stanley. Are you sure that you won't take a walk with us?
No. Will you hand me the Sunday papers, please? I haven't had a chance to read them.
Of course, Uncle Stanley. Here you are.
Thank you. I hope those young people aren't going to make a noise out there. These steps aren't very wide, are they?
I hope that draft rushes right upstairs and hits him in the right spot. What's the matter with you, Newton? What's with all this beautiful walk and talk with Uncle Stanley? Don't you get enough of him in here? Miss Wilcox, hello. Didn't make it.
Oh, boy, you big dog. I didn't touch her. I never laid a hand on her.
Stop that noise! Stop it, I tell you! I'm taking a rest!
Who the hell cares?
Oh, dear.
Mr. Fuller! Mr. Fuller! We did it! We struck water!
No kidding.
Yes, sir! 40 gallons a minute! The darndest thing you ever seen!
Not oil. I'd rather have water.
Yes, ma'am. Struck 2 hours ago, but I didn't want to tell you till we checked up on it. Yes, sir. 40 gallons a minute. Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, you have just put down a well on my property. You are drawing all my water.
Mr. King.
No, we ain't. That well's on our property. Don't tell me. Look at your deed. Your property ends at the brook. Why don't you look at your deed first instead of having a man go out and dig wells wherever he wants to?
But Mr. Prescott, can't this just be adjusted? We've been drilling for water for 3 months now. Couldn't you just allow us to use it?
Madam, this well that you have put down is tapping my spring. You are taking all my water. I just tried to fill our swimming pool and there was no water. There's no water anywhere in the house. Now is that clear to you?
Yes, no wonder we got 40 gallons a minute.
Well, Mr. Fuller, do you plug it up? Or do I have my men do it and send you the bill?
Better go tell the men, Mr. Kimber.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Now, Mr. Prescott, since you're so fussy about private property, suppose you get the heck off
I'll
ours.
be glad to, Mrs. Fuller. It may interest you to know, by the way, that I'm on the board of directors of the bank that is foreclosing this property, and I will take great personal pleasure on Tuesday in escorting you off it. Good day.
What did he say, Newton?
I didn't quite understand him, Annabelle.
Come on, Newton, I want the truth.
I'm sorry, Annabelle. I just didn't have the heart to tell you.
That's all right. It's kind of a shock, that's all. We're closing.
We had enough money in the beginning, but it just melted away. It's just that everything is costing so much more than I figured.
Why didn't you just tell me, Newton? Why did you carry it on yourself? I would have understood.
I had gotten us into it, and I knew how you felt about it. Somehow I just couldn't.
You know something, Newton? I was beginning to like this place. I was beginning to like it a great deal.
Were you, Annabelle? Were you really?
Yes, I was. $5,000. Well, how much could we get from your insurance policy?
I've done that already.
Tuesday? Why, that's the day after tomorrow.
I know, it's been driving me nearly crazy. I don't know how I've made it through these last 2 days. I've been going nearly crazy. There's just one chance, Annabelle.
What?
Uncle Stanley.
Fine chance that is.
Well, you can't tell, Annabelle. He might. After all, I'm going to get that money someday. All I'd be doing is asking for some of it now. Just $5,000 to save the house. He ought to be willing to do that.
Why, he certainly might. Oh, if only he would. Suppose we both tackle it. I'll come in on it too. Why, you'll see some of the best buttering up since 1912. We must get that money. We must.
Excuse me.
What's all that about?
There's a hell of a situation up in Yale, up in Yale. There's a hell of a situation up in Yale, up in Yale.
Stop that singing. Don't you ever think of anyone but yourself?
We've got to do something about Raymond.
Now you old full face, do you? There's a hell of a situation up in here.
I'll take to you. Newton, I'm packing up and leaving. I will not stand another minute with that boy.
Now, Uncle Stanley, you'll do no such thing, our Uncle Stanley. I think that you've been just so nice about the whole situation. I can't tell you.
A saint, that's what he is, an absolute saint.
I'm not a saint or anything, and I don't mean to sound fussy.
Fussy? You? Oh, Uncle Stanley, did you hear that? He said he was fussy.
The idea.
Oh, go close the door so there's no draft on Uncle Stanley. No. Just a little while ago, I started laughing all over again about that story you told, putting a piece of wood in the window.
It was rather a clever idea for a little shaver.
Only 6 or 7, Annabelle, that's all he was.
I know.
Did you say roast duck for dinner, Annabelle?
Certainly did, with chestnut stuffing. And the dessert is a surprise. My surprise.
Kind of like your old Uncle Stanley, don't you?
Oh, Uncle Stanley.
That skin is smooth as a baby's.
Uncle Stanley?
Yes, Newton?
Uncle Stanley, there was this fellow in our office, I don't know, about 15 years ago, and he had this aunt that was going to leave him an awful lot of money. And, well, he got in some trouble or other, and he finally had to go to her and ask her if she'd give him some.
She was a fool if she did.
Oh.
Uncle Stanley, I think what Newton is trying to tell you is, we're going to lose this place if we don't get $5,000 by tomorrow. Will you give it to us, Uncle Stanley, please?
$5,000?
We would not unless we weren't absolutely desperate. We both thought that if Newton could have just that much of his inheritance now, that it wouldn't be too much to ask.
See, Uncle Stanley, this house means a great deal to both of us. We've never had anything that was really ours before.
It would just break our hearts to lose this place. Will you do this for us, please?
It would be wonderful of you.
Well, that's all very well, but people shouldn't go about buying things they can't afford to pay for.
Well, certainly a man of your means.
That has nothing to do with it. You go ahead on this thing and then expect me to pull you out of it?
I'm sorry, Uncle Stanley. Maybe I shouldn't have, but this can't mean very much to you, and it means a great deal to me. I think you ought to do it.
Newton, I'm surprised at you. This is a shock to me. You're the first one of my nephews to ever ask me for money. And since you've gone ahead on this thing without consulting me first, as a lesson to you, I've got to say no.
I won't let you say no, Uncle Stanley. Why, this money would mean more to me now if I could save this house than anything you might give me afterwards. Why, if you won't say yes, then please say yes, Uncle Stanley. It means just everything to me.
Newton, Annabelle, I'm going to tell you something. I haven't got a cent.
What?
What?
What do you mean, Uncle Stanley?
I haven't got a cent. I went broke in 1929. Clean broke.
You're joking.
No, I'm not.
I just don't understand. You're my rich uncle. You always have been at the factory in Pittsburgh, Stanley J. Menninger and Company. We all send you letters there.
Yes, the factory's still there, but it's belonged to the bank since 29. I get $100 a month for the use of my name, and they send my mail on wherever I am, and that's it. You won't say anything about this, will you, to Ed or Julia or the others?
I just don't understand. You haven't any money at all? I just can't seem to get it through my head.
Since 1929? Why, how could you go on fooling us all those years?
Well, I'll tell you, Annabelle. When I walked out of the broker's office that day, I didn't have a cent. And I said to myself, you know what you're going to be the rest of your life? You're going to be a poor relation. No more white meat, no more Coronas, no more comfortable chairs. And I didn't like it a bit. So I said to myself, look, if you can keep them thinking you're rich, why, you can lead a wonderful life. Winters in California, springs in Florida, summers in Maine, with the rest of my nephews. I was very pleased when you bought this house, Newton. It kind of filled in some open time. Now, wouldn't I have been a fool to give that up?
Why, that's the dirtiest trick I've ever heard.
Well, now look at it the other way, Annabelle. Think of all the happiness I've given you, thinking about that money you thought you were going to get. And in the meantime, it hasn't done anyone any harm, and I've had a heck of a time. Is that so bad, Annabelle? $5,000, huh? Look, if I had $5,000, do you think I'd be here? I'd be over at the Stork Club.
That's that.
Look, Mrs. Fuller, I have to get back to town. You don't mind if I leave before dinner, do you?
Is something the matter, Steve?
No, it's just I have to get back and I might as well get started. So
Oh, Steve, stay for dinner. Do that for me.
it'll only make things worse.
Well, Mr. Fuller, it's happened.
What has?
My husband and your daughter, Mr. Fuller, are running away together.
Madam, but she just went upstairs.
Then she must have gone out the back way, because at this moment she's with Clayton, with her suitcase all packed at the Colonial Inn just across the Delaware.
Do you think we can still catch them, Miss Leslie?
I think so. I came as fast as I could.
Oh, Newton.
I'm so sorry.
I know how to handle this.
For heaven's sakes, Mr. Fuller.
We're crossing the Delaware too. Come on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hester, my girl, here's 10 cents for you. Buy something nice for the baby.
Baby, I don't know what you're talking about.
Then you're in for a hell of a surprise.
Good morning. Is your uncle in?
He hasn't come down yet, Mrs. Douglas.
Well, I'd like to see him. I have a map here for him, and it might be important.
A map?
Why, yes. I promised to get an old map of this place for him, and I finally did. And it shows something very strange. Unless I'm very much mistaken, this map, and it's the original deed, shows that Mr. Fuller's place goes way over into Mr. Prescott's property. According to this map, Mr. Prescott's well and his road actually belong to Mr. Fuller. That's why I want to see your uncle right away.
Say, what do you know? The road and the well belong to Uncle Newton.
That's right. Isn't it astonishing?
Say, you know, I'll bet you that Mr. Prescott would give anything to get his hands on this map.
I imagined he would.
Look, why don't you let me give it to Uncle Newton for you?
Thank you. But I think I ought to see him myself. Don't you?
Oh, he's sick in bed, Mrs. Douglas, didn't you know? He has some kind of a blood disease.
Oh dear.
Aunt Annabelle has to be with him all the time, and I kind of look after things down here the best I can.
What a comfort you must be to your Aunt Raymond at a time like this. Well, I'll come by tomorrow. Maybe Mr. Fuller will be better, and I can give him that then.
Oh, I heard them say, Mrs. Douglas, that if he isn't feeling any better, why, they may quarantine this house. Why don't you let me take it up to him for you? Maybe this little bit of good news will make him feel better. I can tell him just what you told me.
You're such a fine boy, Raymond. You will be careful of it, won't you? It belongs to the museum. Now, tell Mr. Fuller that I hope he feels better, and I'll come by tomorrow. I wish I had a boy like you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Give me Mr. Prescott's house, please. I don't know the number. Hello, is this Mr. Prescott's house? Mr. Prescott? Mr. Prescott, this is Mr. Fuller's nephew, Raymond. You better not hang up or you'll be sorry. Now listen, I've gotten hold of an old map, and if you're smart, you'll buy it from me. Now listen, this map shows it. Oh, hello, Uncle Newton. I think I'll go outside and have a walk. It's too nice a day to stay inside and read. My, but it's beautiful out.
All sweetness and light. Huckleberry Capone.
Good morning, Mr. Fuller. Listen, I feel real bad about things, Mr. Fuller. You're losing the house? What do we do with everything, Mr. Fuller? You've got enough gravel for 2 years. Plenty of manure, too. What do we do?
Just mix it all together, Mr. Kimber. You might get something very interesting.
I got some good news. Cal gave me up last night. Just suddenly came through.
That's nice, Mr. Kimber. I'll be outside in a little while and we'll go over everything.
Yes, sir. Well, it'll be a long time before the real estate people find another sucker.
Newton, I just had kind of an idea about how to save this place for you.
Really, Uncle Stanley? What is it?
Well, sometimes, if you write to Mrs. Roosevelt, the darndest things happen.
Oh.
Well, she's always doing things like that, Newton. You can't hurt to try.
There isn't time, Uncle Stanley.
Well, I just said goodbye to the Japanese beetles. They love that spray we bought for them. They're certainly going to miss us.
Listen, Annabelle, I just want you and you to know that I'm very sorry I didn't have that money to give you. Very sorry indeed.
Don't give it another thought, Uncle Stanley. It doesn't matter now.
Well, it's too bad just the same. Say, now here's an idea. Ed and Julia still think I've got a lot of money. Why don't you sell them your share of what they think I'm going to leave? You not only get the $5,000 to save the house, but maybe make a little on the side. We can split it 3 ways. It's a good business proposition, Newton.
Uncle Stanley, you're as crooked as a corkscrew.
No, I'm not. Straight business.
No, I don't think we could do that, Uncle Stanley.
Well, it was an idea anyway. I think I'll stroll down to that general store and pick up a couple of White Owl cigars.
You notice Uncle Stanley's just Raymond, grown up.
Well, I've been thinking about giving that cow to Mr. Kimber. I'd kind of like to make him a present, and I don't see how we can use it.
Yes, it'll be kind of cramped in those 2 rooms we'll be living in.
A lot of other things I'll have to tend to. But I just can't put my mind on them right now. Will you call the storage company about the furniture, Annabelle?
Yes, I will. Funnily enough, Newton, there are a lot of things I'm going to miss about this place. It's just little things like walking upstairs to bed at night. That feeling of a house you get when you walk up a flight of stairs. Puttering around the place and, I don't know, just the whole feeling that it's yours, inside and out. You know, the other night I couldn't sleep, so I came into the kitchen and got an apple. And then I came in here and sat for a while, just by myself. Then I wandered outside, just wandering around, looking at things. And I began to understand what you meant about coming back to a place like this and what it does to you. I began to feel very grateful to those old boys who fought around here. Yes, sir, life, liberty, and the pursuit of the Japanese beetle. I'm certainly going to miss it.
My gosh, Annabelle, it makes me awful happy to hear you say that. I'll tell you what, let's save up every penny we can, and maybe in a few years we'll get another little place. Because that's what we both want now. We'll get another little place.
Only with water.
Yeah, sure. Only, I wish we could keep this place.
Well, we can't. And I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to have a drink.
At 10 o'clock in the morning, Annabelle?
Yes, and I suggest you do the same.
All right.
Here we are.
To our new place, Annabelle. Here's hoping.
I'll drink that.
Well, here is the erring daughter, feeling even more like a fool than she did last night. Why, what's going on here?
Just drowning the mortgage, dear. Would you care to drown, Mr. Edmond?
No, I'm the one that ought to be drowned. I should have known better from the beginning. Guess I'll never see Steve again. When do we get thrown out, Dad?
Tomorrow, I'm afraid.
House gone, Steve gone. To make it perfect, I have to tell you that I'm going to have a baby.
Don't make it perfect, dear. It's all right just the way it is.
Well, whenever you want things messed up, I'm the girl that can do it for you. I feel worse about Steve than anything I've ever done in my whole life.
Poor Madge.
Have another drink, Newton. I'm going to.
At 10 o'clock in the morning, Annabelle?
It was 10 o'clock when we had the last one. It's after that now.
I suppose you're right. I can't feel any worse. Did I tell you that cow gave milk last night?
Really, to who?
Mr. Kimber.
We recognize the pup.
You never liked Mr. Kimber very much, did you, Annabelle?
Oh, Mr. Kimber's all right if you haven't got a place in the country. You know, I think he attracts Japanese beetles, Newton.
Now, Annabelle. You know, this drink is making me feel a little better.
Have another one.
What time do you want lunch, Miss Fuller?
Lunch? Oh, I don't know. Do we want lunch, Newton?
No.
We won't be wanting any lunch, Hester.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, Hester.
Yes, ma'am.
Suppose we better tell her.
Oh, yes, Hester, we'll be leaving here tomorrow, for good.
Oh, we're sorry to give you such short notice, Hester, but we've only just learned it ourselves.
Oh, that's all right. I'm getting married anyhow.
Well, that's fine. You got your young man after all.
No, he got married to the other girl yesterday.
Oh. Then I don't understand.
Well, he brought his brother along to talk me out of it. And the way it worked out, I'm going to marry his brother.
I see, but what about the baby?
Well, his brother. It's all the same family.
Well, that takes care of Esther. What are we going to do about Raymond when we go? We've got to decide about that.
Let's just move out and not say a word to it.
Let's have a drink on that, Annabelle.
There you are, feeling better, huh?
I certainly am. You know, it's funny. I was just thinking, maybe this is why people drink. Makes them feel better.
We've got something there.
Say, haven't we any bigger glasses, Annabelle? Look at these little things.
Yes, right under there, you. Get your own model, it's easier.
There. I'm feeling much better now. You mind if I give you a little kiss?
Not at all, Newton, I love it.
There.
Thank you, Newton.
Don't mention it.
Newton, I just had another idea about how to save this place.
Forget about it, Uncle Stanley. Have a drink.
Get Uncle Stanley his own model.
Here you are, Uncle Stanley. Take one of these big glasses. You can get more in them.
Well, you've got the right idea. This is what pulled me through in 1929.
How much money didn't you have?
Oh, say, I was rolling in it. You know, I can't understand why I was so tight in those days. I remember I used to say to myself every Christmas, why not give all the nieces and nephews great big wonderful presents? Make it a real Christmas. And I'd say, oh, to hell with them.
Here's to Uncle Stanley.
And here's to Uncle Stanley. I don't know why.
Well, I was a good fellow when I had it.
Hey, what is this? Tobacco Road?
Well, hello, Miss Leslie.
Get Miss Leslie a bottle, Newton.
Mr. Fuller, you haven't introduced me.
Oh, very sorry. This is Uncle Stanley. Uncle Stanley, Miss Rena Leslie. Miss Leslie's an actress.
How do you do, Miss Leslie?
How do you do? Say, I'm glad to get a load of you, Uncle Stanley. I knew you're quite an actor yourself. That rich uncle you've been playing all these years. You've had quite a run, haven't you?
Since 1929.
Here you are, Miss Leslie. We're a few ahead of you.
I'll catch up.
Think of Ed and Mabel when they find out. And Al and Julia? Well, I'm not going to tell them. Let them go right on cow time for the next 20 years.
It's very generous of you, Annabelle. Very generous of you both. I always said you were my favorite niece and nephew.
And to hell with all that stuff, Uncle Stanley. Just be yourself.
Winters in Florida, springs in California, and giving them that poor little shaver all the time. Pour it out, Uncle Stanley, pour it out.
Oh, you go on tour too? I didn't know that.
Mr. Fuller's been waiting outside for you, Mr. Fuller.
Hello, Mr. Kimber.
Get another bottle, Newton.
Surest thing you know. Here you are, Mr. Kimber.
For me?
Certainly. Have a seat right over here and go to it.
If you say so. Is that all right with you, Mrs. Fuller?
Sure. And bring in the Japanese beetles too, Newton.
Newton, I feel a draft.
Go right on feeling it, Uncle Stanley. Say, why don't you show Miss Leslie one of your cards? Stanley J. Menninger and Company, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Not really, Newton.
Oh, go ahead and show her, Uncle Stanley. Go ahead.
Well, they don't really mean much anymore, but...
Take a look at that, Miss Leslie.
Hey, they'd fool me. Engraved and everything.
That's right. It ought to say biggest liar since 1929.
I'll never smile again unless I smile at you.
Say, I nearly forgot. I came to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yes, I'm all through with the country. I don't mind an occasional rustic touch, but when you walk into your dressing room and find that a couple of birds have built a nest in your brassiere, it's time to go back to the city.
You're leaving, we're leaving, everybody's leaving. Too bad.
Too bad. You know, Mr. Fuller, I got so mad outside this town. I was talking to Mr. Prescott's caretaker, Mr. Pearlberg, and you know what he said? He said that Mr. Prescott's gonna buy this place in tomorrow.
Well, what do you think of that?
Isn't that nice?
And he said Mr. Prescott ain't ever gonna have no more trouble with people digging wells and using the road and such. And do you know what I said to him?
What?
I just didn't answer him.
That's telling him.
Sure is nice us working like dogs around here, and then Mr. Prescott gets the whole thing.
Well, that's the way it is, Annabelle. If we don't make the second payment and we lose the house, shall revert to the owners in its original condition.
In its original condition? And Mr. Prescott gets it, huh? Well, let's revert it to its original condition.
What?
And let's leave this place just as it was when we walked in here.
Hooray!
Whoopee! Mr. Kimber, go get the claw out of the yard. Some old oil cans.
Say, there's some things over here.
Hey, let's do some of that.
Uncle Stanley, look, this upstairs, you know. Get busy with every single one of them.
Oh, boy.
And Lester, bring in the garbage. Plenty of it.
Here you are! Oh, that's the stuff, Mr. Kimber. Put it right in the center of the room. Oh, and bring in the gravel. I want the gravel.
Was there gravel here when you first came? Oh, there was everything here when we first came. And bring the saw and pickaxe too, Mr. Kimber.
Oh, Miss Leslie, give me those curtains. I want to put them in the fireplace. Make them smoke good.
Oh, give that to me, Hester. No, still looks too good. Go get some more. Go to the neighbors if we haven't got any.
Here's the gravel.
Did I break it? What do you want done now?
Oh, here you are, Uncle Stanley. Saw off the floor. Oh, and make the roof leak good. Chop a big hole in it.
This is like a dress rehearsal down at our theater.
Here we are. How's that for gravel, Annabelle?
Perfect. Put it all over the place. And don't forget, we've still got manure.
Oh, that's right. Bring in the manure, Mr. Kimber.
And put the top.
What was this place like when we bought it?
You'll see. Now come on, Miss Leslie. Let's restore the stairway.
Here's some more garbage, Miss Fuller.
Leave it right there, Hester.
Say, what do you think?
Got great news.
Come on, grab an axe. We're restoring the place to its original condition.
Wait, stop! What the hell of a thing has happened? Stop!
You're back.
Yes, never mind that. Listen, the place is saved.
What?
What do you mean?
It's Raymond.
Raymond, what happened?
Lindsay.
Raymond fell down the well, and we got there just in time.
Raymond fell down the well? Where is he now?
He's still down there.
I pushed him back again.
We got there, and Raymond was swimming around, holding the map out of the water.
Map, what map?
This map, the old map of the place Mrs. Douglas brought you this morning.
Let me see it.
It shows that we own the road and the well and everything. And Raymond is going to sell it to Mr. Prescott without your knowing anything about it.
My God.
I knew it.
We got my surveying instruments out and went over the whole thing. Your property goes 64.5 feet into the Prescott place.
It shows that we own the road and the well.
All this in Raymond, too.
Are you dead sure, Steve?
Absolutely.
Well, folks, it looks like miracles still happen. What do you think? We still got the house.
I can't believe it.
I chopped a hell of a hole in that roof. What's going on? You all stopped work.
Well, what do you think has happened, Uncle Stanley?
Now listen to me, Mr. Fuller. What is all this? Now listen to me. I stood all that I'm going to stand. The next one of you people that trespasses on my property, I'm going to turn the dogs loose. I'm warning you.
Ah, but those dogs are on my property, Mr. Prescott. You can go into court anytime you want to. Meanwhile, we'll thank you not to use our road.
Now let's get one thing straight. At 12 o'clock tomorrow, you're losing this place, and I'm buying it. That's the important thing. You may have the old deed, but you have not got $5,000.
Oh.
We never thought of that.
Well, it's something to think about. My lawyer appears to have been damn careless about my property line, but fortunately, it will not matter after tomorrow. Now, do we understand each other completely?
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Also, if you inflict any further damage on this house, I will have you hauled into court. It seems to me that it's quite clear that all this is being done with malicious intent. You people have been causing trouble ever since you arrived. Thank heaven you will not do so any longer.
Up there. Where's everybody? Newton, Annabelle, it's Uncle Stanley. Surprise, surprise! A visit from your old Uncle Stanley. Why, what's going on? Annabelle, is something wrong? Newton, don't tell me I'm too late. I brought the check.
Check?
Yes, the $5,000 you wrote me about. I thought I'd fly out with it and surprise you.
Oh, yes.
Yes!
I beg your pardon, I don't believe I've met this gentleman.
Oh, well, this is Mr. Prescott.
How do you do? I'm Stanley J. Manager Ball Bearing Works, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My card.
Well, thank you for coming, Uncle Stanley. Well, Mr. Prescott, it looks as if we still own the property, and your road, and your well. You see, Uncle Stanley, we've been having a little dispute about boundaries.
Boundaries? Well, now, if it's a legal matter, I'll have my staff of lawyers come on.
Now, look here, Mr. Manager. We don't have to have any lawyers. I suppose this whole thing could be adjusted in a neighborly fashion. Suppose,
Why don't you and Mr. Manager come up and see me this afternoon, Mr. Fuller? Have a little chat.
Well, now that's up to my nephew. Newton, under the circumstances, I think the best thing for me to do is to give you the money and let you handle this yourself.
I thank you, Uncle Stanley, and I won't forget how generous you've been.
Wait a minute, he hasn't...
What? What's the matter? What happened?
Oh, poor Raymond has fainted. It must be the heat.
Oh, another one of his fainting spells. Come on, Miss Leslie, let's get him into the dining room. Go right on ahead, gentlemen. He's such a sensitive boy. This often happens to him. But be careful, Miss Leslie. Nice work.
As far as your indebtedness to the bank is concerned, don't bother Mr. Manager for his check. I'll be happy to lend it to you. Meanwhile, if you'd like water, Mrs. Fuller, I'll have my caretaker run a pipe from that well you drilled. Will that be all right?
Will that be all right, Newton?
Well,
Oh, come now, Newton. I suggest we at least talk to him. He seems willing to make a settlement. Why don't you go up there with me this afternoon?
I don't know.
Oh,
Uncle
now,
Stanley.
Newton.
All right, I'll go. We'll be there, Mr. Prescott. 4 o'clock sharp.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mrs. Fuller. Mrs. Fuller, got the manure right here. What do I do with it?
We won't be needing that now, Mr. Kimber. Thank you.
Well, I'll see you gentlemen later then. Good day, everybody. Oh, Mr. Prescott, watch out for that! Oh, no! All over it!
Uncle Stanley!
Oh, Uncle Stanley, you were wonderful.
Folks, this calls for a drink.
Stanley, I want your picture. This time I really want it.
Uncle Stanley, you almost had me believing it. That's how good you were.
You want to be with Warner Brothers.
You weren't so bad yourself, Miss Leslie.
Why, it was nothing at all. I loved it.
Here you go, Madge.
Uncle Stanley, you deserve a double one.
The stage is set, Mr. Fuller, all ready for your entrance.
Well, I bought this place because coming back here meant something to me. Not just to have a roof over our heads, but something bigger. Why, this house stands for something. For everything that seems to me to be worthwhile. So, here's to this house and everything that it stands for. That's all I have to say.
That hurricane! It's heading right this way!
Okay, Uncle